Now, you've been linked with various initiatives in Pakistan, Bangladara and Ankahi, which have given the Pakistani people a platform and a voice to air and discuss many current topics. And I'd like to have a chat with you today about your latest initiative, Speak for Change. Now, just quickly tell us, how did the idea come up, and who in essence started Speak for Change?
Hi, Danielle. Speak for Change. It's something I have talked about for years. When I did the TV show called Loose Ends, then we went to doing Breakfast to Dawn, then Ankahi, and now Bangladara and Caravan. I kept telling people that real change will come when you start speaking up. I mean, the true beauty of democracy is not just electing people, but actually being involved with steering the elected people into doing your job. But every time I said that, people said, well, where do we speak? And I never had the answer for that, because people need a place to vent, to demand, to speak. And thus Speak for Change was really, it was me and my wife, we were just sitting and said, you know what, we need to create a platform, be it a technological platform, which can also provide real-time interaction with newsmakers and politicians, so they can be questioned. So Speak for Change came to birth on, I think, a lunchtime conversation.
Great. Now, one of those platforms that you just talked about is, there is a Facebook platform, and where is usually posted various articles and various questions that current topics, and to basically just stimulate discussion. And when you're filing through the list of questions and discussions that come up, there was one recently, one of these comments that actually caught my eye, and it was from someone who thought that he was basically wondering why all these questions, who is gathering all this information, because there was a wide variety of issues that were being discussed. And he actually put a message that, you know, some country, some foreign power is posting all these questions and gathering information from, you know, quote unquote, the citizens of Pakistan with the intent to overthrow the Pakistani government and take over Pakistan. Now, that really has stuck in my mind, because I think it alludes to a sentiment that is an underlying sentiment, that there is a sort of a hesitancy for people to comfortably speak out and to, you know, without sort of negative consequences. And I wondered if you could give us a bit more information on who is managing the project. And, well, you've already said that you and your wife are basically behind the project, but are there other people with you? Who are the supporters of Speak for Change, and do you have financial backers or anything like that?
That's it's amazing the kind of theories people come up with. I'm just curious if this person who commented that this is an effort to overthrow the government was a Pakistani in Pakistan, Pakistani out of Pakistan, or a completely non-Pakistani person. I'm just curious.
I believe it was probably a Pakistani name.
Okay.
But
in Pakistan.
I wouldn't be able to say.
Wouldn't be able to say. Okay, you see, yeah, we love conspiracy theories, not just in Pakistan. Everywhere in the world, we love conspiracy. We can't really see things at face value. The truth is, there's no one backing it per se. It's really my personal initiative. I have been the financier of this. Now, people can say, "Oh, where is this money coming from?" Well, I am a businessman. I do well. God is very kind. Media pays well, so I'm not short of money. And am I looking for financials? Of course. We will be taking sponsorships for the videos, advertising for the website, because of course everything has to be financially viable. I am a businessman, like I said. If it doesn't make business sense, it doesn't make business sense. I'm not a government who would be doing this. Who's working on this with me? There is a team. There's a young lady called Hiba who is helping with the content. She's managing this thing. There's another young lady called Aisha who has been working with me on personality quotient, but we've sort of trying to merge everything. So she's also on this. This Abid Bailey, who's a very, very famous Pakistani social activist and a businessman, who's joined me. He's in it. Afia Salam, an old journalist, is here. Adnan, who's actually standing behind the camera right now. He is, Adnan and I have been, he was my producer when I used to do Ankahi. and we both felt the same way. So he's come. So it's a team of friends and people who have employed. And people I've employed. I mean, and there is money going into this. So yes, we will take sponsors, but sponsors not in the terms of CIA or KGB, but sponsors in terms of advertising, commercial, because everything does cost, and there is money going into this.
It really does make the world go around in the end.
Exactly. So that's beyond that. No one is trying to overthrow the government of Pakistan or whatever. None of that. It's really just an effort to encourage people and to give them an avenue, a platform to come together and in a collective and an organized form speak out, because we don't have to have revolutions everywhere. Just because half the world had revolutions doesn't mean we need a revolution. In fact, Pakistan cannot afford a revolution. It'll be a disaster because Pakistanis unfortunately are so heavily armed that a revolution will not be an Egyptian revolution where people had sticks and machetes. Here people will have AK-47s and 9mm pistols. So no, we do not want any revolutions, but we want people to engage, and that's all there is. So no conspiracy, sorry to say. No.
Yes, well, I'm very happy to hear that, and I certainly hope that fellow hears what you have to say, but at least you can certainly reassure people, which you have, that there aren't any conspiracies behind Speak for Change whatsoever.
None at all whatsoever. Nothing.
Moving on to any change, in my opinion, any effective change needs to come from grassroots level.
Mm-hmm.
And by that I'm referring to use of language within Speak for Change.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know that English is the official language of Pakistan and Urdu is the national language.
Mm-hmm.
So what mechanisms have you got in place for as wide a variety of voices from as many parts of society can be heard? What mechanisms have you got in place to ensure that type of thing?
Okay, first of all, Speak for Change, or even 24/7 Online, the TV channel we are on right now, is not just Pakistan-centric. It just happened to start in Pakistan because it was the low-hanging fruit. Because I am in Pakistan and I have some sort of standing or face value in Pakistan. So this is where it started. But under no circumstances is it limited to Pakistan. Now, the political topics and the political issues at this point in time, Pakistan is a hot spot. So yes, you are seeing a lot of topics which are Pakistan-centric, but that's not the eventual intention. Now, language. On 24/7, if you see very clearly, we have created Urdu shows and English shows. So there's a clear division. Even my own show, which is the Faisal Qureshi show, has two versions, Faisal Qureshi show and the Faisal Qureshi video log. Now, the video log is English and the show is Urdu. So it's completely catering to both markets. Lastly, the Pakistani population, if I just talk about them, we are pretty much bilingual. So typically anyone who is on Facebook, a large majority would be English aware, if not fluent. With that said, there's also this Roman Urdu trend. So we kind of mix and match, and it works all right. As far as...
We call it code mixing in the linguist world.
Yeah. But if you talk about the masses of Pakistan, I would say the 80% population, yes, but they're not even Facebook connected, and there's no language interaction there. But my belief, Danielle, is very clear that even though the majority in a democracy counts, it's the number of people who elect, but the very select, the bourgeois of a society, the educated middle class, people like us, we're the ones who can steer change. We're the ones who can drive the other 80% of the population. So our target market really is the bourgeois, the educated working middle class who have the largest issues, and they're the ones who can steer any change. So they're the market, and I think language is not necessarily a large issue there, but still, like I said, we're catering to both.
Very good. Now, there was also a comment that came up the other week. It was actually a friend of mine who is a Pakistani, a very good friend of mine, and she's Karachi-based. And if you'd let me read this small excerpt from what she wrote to me. As for forums and movements, to me it's just a hobby for people now. Been there, done that. Seen and heard it all. Hardly ever saw any concrete, sustainable action or change in laws or policies. That is why I left it all behind me. Where is the real action? I am interested in that. Enough of talk already. Show me a forum where people plan to sit down to develop roadmaps, concrete plans, seek support. So that brings me now to ask you in a little bit more detail the purpose of Speak for Change. Is it simple advocacy? And now this question is actually coming from another friend of mine who is again a Pakistani but Sydney-based. Is it simple advocacy, or is it geared towards some pragmatic change, some sort of collective action? So what is the broad plan or a long-term vision, indeed, if you're even at that stage yet with Speak for Change?
Okay,
that was about 3 questions in one day.
You're opening a Pandora's box, which I'm glad you're opening, because this needs to be answered. I've repeatedly taken this question, but it doesn't matter how many times I answer this one. There's need for one more time. So allow me to go into a bit more detail here. Globally, all societies, all countries who have developed, industrialized societies, developed societies, people don't take action. People don't take over the tasks of the system or the government. Government does its job. People are not advocates, but they are a pressure group. If the government doesn't do their job, people force the government to do their job. Whereas, highly unfortunately, and there's economics involved in this as well, in countries which are not developing, societies which are not evolving, people who are not evolving, they've got this Mr. Ziegler's thing, that little starfish, you got to throw the starfish back because it matters to the starfish. We've been throwing starfish back for decades. There's still starfish there. If you talk about investing in education, it is not an individual's job to get into education. It's the government's job to educate people. Individuals cannot alleviate poverty in a country 180 million strong. The governments have to do that. We can't write roadmaps. There are enough roadmaps out there. And if I talk only, Pakistan-centric, do you really believe that we don't have the answers of how to solve Pakistan's problem? Everybody knows what needs to be done. This change, that change, the government. We all know it. But no one's doing it. Why? Because no one has to do it. And I'm not speaking about Pakistan. Take India, take Bangladesh, take Nepal, take Sri Lanka. All these countries which are not evolving or developing as they should, we all know what to do. But the reason the governments or the leaders don't do it, because no one is saying, if you don't do it, you're in trouble. Because they know.
So you're talking about accountability.
Accountability, and the accountability will come from that elite 10 to 20% of the bourgeois who are educated and smart enough to be able to say, hang on, I need answers to these questions, and if I don't have answers, you are in trouble. So, unfortunately, when I said earlier the economics involved, the NGOs, non-government organizations, why do NGOs exist only in the underdeveloped or not developing world? How come you don't have NGOs in Belgium and France and Denmark running charity schools and charity hospitals? You don't need them. The system works. So we need to force the system to do its job, not take over the system's job. So all these people who say, oh, we need action. What action? I'd like to hear, what action do they want? They want us to go and clean streets? Not my job. They want us to set up schools? Not my job. They want us to set up hospitals? Not my job. But my job is to make sure the government, it's a democracy, so the government is my employee. I pay their salaries. Constitutionally, I have hired them to go and create an environment where I can raise my children, get a job, make money, live a comfortable life. It's their job. So it's like hiring a CEO in a company who doesn't do his job, and you say, well, it's all right, I'll do your job, I'll give you a salary, and you sit and chill. I'm sorry, I refuse to accept that. You've been hired to do a job, you're gonna do a job. If you don't do your job, out the door. And I will put somebody else, because the people, when you say for the people, by the people, of the people, it is not about a form of election. It is a way of life. Democracy is a mindset where I say, this is my country, I own it, and the people who've been hired to do a job, they will do the job. I'm not. So Speak for Change is not advocacy, it's not roadmap, it's not think tank. It is a group of people who know their rights, they know how to demand their rights, they will take their rights. And the constitutions of all countries in the world say what the people's rights are, but no one demands those rights.
Well, that's actually a perfect lead into my next question, because what kind of support is Speak for Change actually looking for?
Well, of course, financial support in terms of advertising to pay the bills, but that's just the economics. The support we're looking for really is people talking. Speak for Change will only happen if people start talking. And there is this barrier between people. People think there's no point in talking, like the people who ask you those questions, oh, what's the point of... People think there's no point in talking. Second, there's a fear that if we talk, the system will take us down. And I don't know anyone yet who has been taken down just for speaking. So people have to overcome those fears, and they have to start talking. Until they start talking, we don't have a game.
So I believe there are offshoots, that is, other platforms associated with Speak for Change. Could you tell us about some of those, where people can engage and where people can openly discuss and debate topics?
Okay, Speak for Change is not just offering a website or a Facebook page. It has an associated event calendar as well. Right. Where one of them is a web debate, where we're getting newsmakers on the panel and people in the audience, and they are being encouraged to engage with each other. And I'm standing in as the moderator, and not just the moderator, I'm actually the equalizer as well, because newsmakers have the capability of intimidating people. So I stand in the middle to make sure they're not intimidated, and people who are asking questions or commenting can do so freely. So we're doing those. The next step is Speak for Change conversations, where in this very studio, I'm encouraging bloggers, young people who have something intelligent to say, to come out here, sit with me, and say what they want to say. And also, now the web debate is 5 panelists, lots of people. For very select people, bloggers or people who are actively interested in news, I'm going to give them one politician at a time. I'll sit in, and 3 or 4 people can interact with that politician and question him or her. So the idea is to give active engagement with the policymakers and the client, which is the people of Pakistan and slowly other countries as well. So Speak for Change is really just a platform with lots of instruments, if I may say, not offshoots, but these are instruments. And lastly, 24/7 online, which we own right now, I'm encouraging people to do their video blogs and send them to us, and we'll air them.
Great. So it's actually there's a wide variety of platforms for people to utilize.
Instruments, yeah, of course. Yeah.
Speak for Change is using getting cutting edge technology to convey messages and engage people on various levels.
Yeah, but
correct.
Speak for Change is going to use every possible technology and every possible instrument to get more and more people involved. It's not going to be limited to one. We're going to use Skype. We can use video blogs, podcasts. We're encouraging people to write. It's easier for a lot of people to do videos and audio. So any instrument, as long as people are willing to engage and people are willing to communicate, we're gonna do our best to open those avenues.
Fantastic. And last but not least, I'd like to hear your message for the doomsayers that are out there who say that nothing will change. It's futile. What would your message be for people who have that message?
Danielle, I really can't give a message to people who have given up or abandoned. If nothing's going to change, if you've abandoned, then, so be it. Change is only for those who are willing to change. If, a lot of Gandhi has said this and Martin Luther King has said this, and everyone said this. Unless you're willing to change yourself, nothing around you will change. What you're doing is causing this ripple effect. We are the reason why things are like this, one way or the other. Yes, you can blame governments, but then, it's us who drive governments. So unless I am willing to change the way I am living my life, I cannot expect things around me to change. So to those people who say nothing will change, I will say, I'm sorry, but I guess you really don't want to change. That's the best.
So for you, change comes, first of all, on an individual level from the individual. So in other words, people who aren't willing to change themselves and self-reflect on their own life, it would be almost impossible for them to instill that in others.
Not almost impossible, absolutely impossible. As Einstein said, garbage in, garbage out. You keep doing what you're doing, you'll keep getting what you're getting. If you want something different, you will have to do something different. And that doing different
what you put into life is what you get out of it.
Exactly. So if you don't like what you're getting, you got to change what you're putting in. And that means changing yourself.
And what a fantastic note to end on. So people who want to be part of the project, we might have already covered this. People who want to be part of the project, what should they do? Where can they go?
Speakforchange.org, Facebook page, Speak for Change again, 247online.tv. All these URLs are slowly coming together. Bear with us. It's been up only a couple of months. I think we've done lots of great stuff in these, I think, month and a half. We have 239 or 240 odd thousand people on Facebook. It is happening. We are willing to take suggestions, ideas. If you think we're missing something, we'd love to put them in. But right now, all these things, the Facebook pages, the websites, they're coming together, and you can communicate with us, contact us in any way you want to contribute. And all we want right now are your words, are your voices, are your thoughts, your videos. And of course, sponsorships never hurt.
Well done. Well, thank you very much for sharing Speak for Change with us, and also I wish the Pakistani people every success with Speak for Change.
Well, Danielle, thank you very much for taking the time out to do this interview, because we talked about it weeks ago, and thank you for making this effort to actually do this and helping us and get this message out. Thank you for wishing the Pakistani people the best. But I think I would like to add to it, we need to really work for the world. Pakistan's problems and the results of those problems are not isolated to the region. every country today is affecting every other country. We are affecting our future. We are really writing our future today. So, and it's really a global village now. It wasn't 50 years ago, but today it's phenomenal. The internet is phenomenal. Travel is phenomenal. Video, I've never met you. You're sitting somewhere in Australia. I'm sitting somewhere in Karachi, and look at what we're doing here. So we need to harness what the world, what nature, what fate, what science and technology has presented us today, and let's make the best of it together so we may live in a peaceful world tomorrow.
Indeed. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Danielle. Till next time.